Wait. Let's see if I can do it. Wait, somebody turn the lights off in the studio because that's how they bring them on in the arena. And now your Orlando Magic, and I'm going to introduce right now none other than the head coach of the Orlando Magic, Mr. Steve Clifford. We stole him from Charlotte. We had to have him, so we got him here with us tonight, and we have him here in Orlando to be a part of this great city. Coach, how you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. But hold on one second, Coach, because we have one of your players that is on the line also standing a tall 6'6". You know he took my height, right, brother? I was supposed to be 6'6". He took my height. He's standing at 6'6", none other than the one, the only Mr. Michael Carter Williams. Mr. Williams, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. And then we can't stop the music there, brother. So, Brother Shaw, keep it going. We also have a community engagement specialist, the one, the only, the man whose name I hear on the radio when I'm driving home or driving to work in the morning, the one, the only Dr. Randy B. Nelson. I see you, brother.
Hey, and last but not least, Greg, and this is where a lot of the work gets done, man. We are bringing on Miss Rashawn Moore, who's an Orlando Paramore resident. And Greg, she's just not an ordinary resident. Man, this is somebody who gets down in the community and lets the community know we're alive. We're alive and we're well.
Absolutely.
Miss Rashawn, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, and Brother Love is going to kick us off.
Well, really, I want to go ahead and pass the baton to Dr. Randy Nelson, but pass it in such a way, Greg, that we've seen tragedy locally, we've seen tragedy nationally, but Dr. Nelson, he's been doing this work nationally. So, Dr. Nelson, I'm going to pass the baton to you and tell us, what is the community engagement workshops all about?
Thank you, and thank you for having us on. This work started actually last week. We had 300 Orlando Police Department police officers that came through an 8-hour block of training, and it was truth, it was candor, it was some uncomfortable conversation, but they all came, they all had a voice in the play, and then Saturday it was a home run with the community. The individuals you have on with us tonight, Coach Clifford, didn't have to be a part of that conversation. Matter of fact, he asked me to be a part of the conversation. I didn't ask him. And with Michael Carter, man, it does my heart well to see a young man who could be doing a million other things on a Saturday, 4 hours of frank conversation, and he gave just as good as he got. And Ms. Moore, I can't say enough about her. She said, that's my community, and I'm here, and I'm ready. So it's not that there's not a lot of work to do, but with the 3 individuals on this call, it's about solution. I can talk all day about the problems, but can we suit up and get to the solution? And that was an excellent 4 hours today. Matter of fact, we went over. So I'm ready to have this conversation, and they have a lot to offer. They're value added, and it's about the work.
No, that's a great point. And Coach Clifford, Dr. Nelson made a very good point. He said that you called him about this community engagement. What was it about this particular community or this particular engagement that made you say, hey, this is something that I want to be a part of, something that I need to engage in?
Well, actually, with Dr. Nelson, this goes back a few weeks where we did a Zoom call one day with Dr. Nelson, myself, Jeff Weltman, our president of basketball operations here, Linda Lim and Gonzalez, and Ty Corbin, one of our coaches. And he went into great detail about his plans to come into Orlando, to speak with both the police and then community leaders. So, I saw like the structure. I saw how we had done this in other communities. And, I just kind of got on the internet and read about him. So, I was confident that it would be, just a great thing to experience. And it was educational. He got into everything from policing nationally to locally to specific things in Orlando and Paramore. And I agree with what everybody said so far. It was an incredible learning experience and a very well spent 4 hours.
Now, Coach, I'm gonna throw another hard one at you because you've been a lot of different places in your career as a coach and things of that nature. Is it anything that you took, or I should say, is it anything? What did you take from this particular engagement that you feel could be beneficial to other communities, as in the communities that you've been in, worked in, that you've coached in? What could you take from this and say, hey, we can put this in other places and it would be beneficial to others?
Well, I think the structure of Dr. Nelson's program, where he is spending time with both law enforcement and then with, people within the community, listening to both sides and then getting everyone's perspective out there so that there's discussion. I think it's healthy. And I also think that he's so experienced and has such great knowledge on the subject matter that when he needed to, I think that he challenged people in a way that brought up more discussion. And then also he's so factual and well-versed, and, he uses statistics to show people his perspective. And I just think his whole approach is so beneficial for everybody on both sides.
Well, Coach, let me say, going back, and I hate to say it, Greg, 30 years, Dr. Nelson taught me that, let the numbers speak for themselves. Let the numbers be a guide for you. And going back to 2017, when you, myself, former Captain Wilson, as well as Mayor Nelson, when we facilitated a violence task force in the city of Apopka, Dr. Nelson was there with Bethune-Cookman. We thought it was going to be 4 months. It turned out to be 7 months. And we actually got some real substantive solutions to problems. And it just wasn't solutions around crime and violence. It was solutions around economic development, job training, education. So where he takes you is to a place that is holistic.
Absolutely. Great points. Great points. I have a question for Mr. Carter Williams once again. Brother Carter Williams, professional athletes have taken an unprecedented stance on what's been taking place in the community. And we applaud, the way that professional athletes have become and been a true part of our community. And we appreciate each and every one of you all for stepping up and doing those things. But having attended this community engagement, is there anything now that you can take to your peers and say, hey, listen, I think we can do it this way and get it right? There's another way to get not another way, but there are other ways to get our point across to get the attention that we need. Is it something that you were able to take from this?
Yeah, I think so. I think what I can take from the meeting and bring back to my peers is that, I'm pretty sure all our voices have been heard, right? We've made a pretty serious stance on what we believe in. It's recognized, throughout our country. People know where we stand, and now it's kind of the action part, right? Like, what can we do, to ensure of our words? And I think starting with, your own community. I live here in Orlando, and I want to be a part of the community. I want to be a part of helping. So I think what I'm going to preach is, just to, wherever you are, whatever city you live in, wherever you want to help, start with your community and how can you help mend, the law enforcement in the community there. And then, I think things will start moving in the right direction. But I think starting in your own backyard is real key.
Dr. Nelson, here's one for you, because I know you're working with Jacksonville Jaguars, but here's something that you often talk about. People come to these, Greg, and they're ready to fight. They're ready to point fingers. Dr. Nelson, you often talk about two-way accountability. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. No, I don't want to act like this was a come by y'all moment this Saturday. I mean, there was some serious and frank conversation. You had hurt, years and generations of hurt in that room as well now. So it was true. And even with law enforcement, usually when you go train law enforcement, they blame the media and social media and elements of the community. When you talk to community, they blame law enforcement. It's easier to deflect and look at faults in others than it is to do some introspection and say, what can I do? So, and I allowed both groups in the community, I allowed them to get it all out. And they did. We had some passion. They were able to get that out. And I also did it with the police. So after you blame elements of the community, after you blame social media, what can we do better? That's what Chief Malone has done. I have to give him credit. he's always saying that we can do better. Because when you can't, and you'll have officers say, we're doing this, well, the community is not feeling it. And if the only time a black or brown kid sees law enforcement is when they're coming in arresting, even if they're arresting the bad guy, it's like Pavlov's dog. I associate you with negative. So it'll be hard to recruit and bring folk in when that's all they see of law enforcement. And on the flip side of that, a 3-year-old or 14-year-old child killed in broad daylight in a community and no one knows or sees anything. That's not the police. I can get rid of every racist or bad police officer, but it wouldn't change the violence in some of our communities. So we have to do some introspection there as well.
Yeah,
so Dr. Nelson, man, I tell you, we greatly appreciate that because, we're talking about two-way accountability. We can go in and point fingers. It's easy to do that.
Yeah.
But man, the tough part is when you do that self-reflection and say, what can I do better?
Absolutely. And speaking of the tough conversations, Coach Clifford, was there anything that you took from the conversation or took from that meeting that you had no idea, the community had issues with, that you were able to take back with you and say, you know what, we can do better as a community on this? Not say as a person, but as a community, we can do better on these things that I didn't know about.
Yeah, there were a number of things that I wrote down that, like I said, it was really educational for me. But one of the things that I wrote down to find out more about would be the coordination between the Orange County Police Department and the City Police Department, and how, whether it's boundaries or how that works. And that was one of the things that was discussed that I had never even thought about, because I do know, or I'm pretty sure, that there are actually different local policies in place for the county and for the city. And so I can see how that can be, an issue, within our area here.
Wow.